Earth. This is your co-host Muhammad Nabil, and along with me, my good friend, co-host Numan Zulfikar. Welcome to the Two Aliens podcast show. How are you doing, Numan?
Hey, I'm good, Nabil. How about you?
Perfecto. How was the weekend for you?
Wasn't really bad. I mean, I really needed a break this weekend, and it came, so I was happy about that. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to work in a company that really hasn't suffered as much from the whole pandemic situation and the economic meltdown. But but work was getting quite stressful because we're doing more than what we're required to, to achieve our targets. And I completely understand because of the whole situation and all. But this weekend was really good. I had a good time, and I'm fresh, I'm rejuvenated, and I'm ready to start the next week off. How about you, man?
That's good. Dude, don't ask me. I'm being lazy, super as hell. Just stuck at home. But the good thing is that, keeping myself busy with some stuff, watching videos, checking out documentaries and everything. So, Numan, as I know very well that, you are a gym freak. So nowadays, in your place, the gym is closed, shut down. So how are you managing your workouts and everything at home?
I mean, it's easy, man. You can work out literally anywhere in the world. All you need is just a small space to work out. I mean, I don't believe in the fact that, I used to believe that you should go to the gym and should have heavy weights with you, but over time my perception has changed a lot. Again, I can do powerlifting. I cannot do powerlifting at home because I don't have the equipment, but I have a few dumbbells, I have a resistance band. And I have a good head on my shoulders, so I'm able to do a workout. So basically, I'm doing mostly full body workouts lasting between 30 to 40 minutes. About 10 minutes of stretching and warm up, and after that the workout itself is around 30 minutes. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to have some weights with me and have some education in fitness in general. So that's why I'm able to. That's why I haven't really gained any weight, nor have I lost considerable muscle mass.
Numan, I want to ask you one thing about this. How do you get motivated? Because there are so many distractions at home, and so basically, what keeps you pumping up, every day or at least twice a week, to get up and exercise? Because in my situation over here, I feel kind of dull or unmotivated. So, is there any tips or something
Just do it, man. This is the best time. You don't have any distractions. You're talking about distractions, but there aren't really any distractions. This is really the best time for all of us to get in shape, get healthy. Okay. Most of us are spending most of their days at home. Okay. Even if even the people who are working or who are studying, they're only doing that for a certain period of time. They're not doing that the entire day. So, if there was a time to take back your health in your own hands, this is the time. So just think about this. The foundation that you lay during this period will stay with you your entire life. So this could be the first step and the best step you take to improve your health for your entire life.
Yeah, and I was reading a meme, and it was saying that you gotta learn something during this lockdown, and if you come out from this lockdown without anything, then you are useless. So in my opinion, you have ample time in your hands, and this is the best opportunity to learn something. But I also want to ask you one thing. As I'm living alone, I don't have a partner or some trainer to teach me on something.
There's plethora of information available online, Nabil. I can show you 100 YouTube channels that offer you great advice on doing home workouts. So see, this is the age of information. You have so much information available online that you don't really need. I'm not saying you don't really need a trainer, but if you don't want a trainer, then you can do quite well for yourself without a trainer.
Because for me, as a noob, as a newbie, for example, I would open up random 2-3 videos of these on YouTube, and I would not be certain or not be sure that should I follow this guy's routine or should I follow this guy's routine. But as you have been doing for such a long time now, many years, what kind of suggestions would you give in terms of any personality or any person who you think is the right guy on YouTube who's teaching us or who can teach amateurs how to start this thing?
Nabil, the best thing The best workout is the one that you're doing right now. Okay, it's not a workout that you're thinking about. The workout that you do is the best workout that you do.
Which one?
No, it's all about moving, man. It's all about moving. So you see a video, okay, and you go through the entire video and you don't do anything. That's not a workout. You see a video, okay, even if you're not sure, you start doing the workout. That's the best workout you've done. You see another video and you start doing that workout. That's the next best workout you've done. So I mean, it's as simple. It's about moving, okay. But if you wanted my suggestions for some YouTube channels, I'd recommend AthleanX, of course. AthleanX is the gold standard of YouTube fitness. Then I really like Jeff Nippard. Jeff Nippard has very science-based workouts that people should try. I also like Omar Isuf. I also like Scott Herman. So these are like the four. This is basically my Mount Rushmore of workouts.
And these guys are they like what, fighters or?
None of them are fighters. All of them are fitness. All of them are fitness YouTubers. Omar Isuf has more of a powerlifting and power building background. AthleanX is the most complete channel you could find in terms of fitness. Whether your goal is to lose weight, gain muscle mass, increase your power, or increase your cardiovascular activity. I mean, that's the best channel.
Okay, that's good. As Numan was saying, folks, something is better than nothing. If you're watching a video on YouTube, as Numan is saying, then definitely you should check it out. Try it at home. Don't try to come up with an excuse. This is the best opportunity. You have 24 hours in a day. So even if you're sleeping for 6 hours, 8 hours, and you got your own steady schedule, once everything is done, you finish your lunch, breakfast, dinner, whatever, then you still have a lot of time. And I would recommend at least giving at least half an hour in the beginning. Then slowly, once you get in that rhythm, and you never know, you can extend your time off like an hour or two or something, and it becomes a part of your life schedule, and you won't feel it as a burden on yourself. And as Numan was saying, there are so many channels on YouTube, you can check them out. And by the way, moving on, everything is shut down. Do you have any news on sports, by the way?
I mean, we have a UFC event coming up, UFC 249, I believe. Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje. It's on the 9th of May. Good. They're hosting it in Florida. Florida, by the way, is also home to the current WWE and AEW events, professional wrestling events. So yeah, I mean, I think it was a good move on UFC's part. But I mean, as a fan of the sport, I couldn't be more happy with the card, and knowing that we have a UFC event coming up. But I also feel for the fighters. Originally, this event was supposed to take place between Khabib and Tony Ferguson. This was, I believe, the fourth time this fight was scheduled. They were originally supposed to fight on The Ultimate Fighter, McGregor versus Faber finale. Then they were supposed to fight on UFC Fox, Teixeira versus Evans. Then they were supposed to fight on UFC 209. Then they were supposed to fight on UFC 223.
Wow.
So this was the fifth time they were booked to fight. This was the fifth time they were booked to fight, and I mean, because of the corona pandemic, they couldn't. So I truly believe this fight is cursed. I mean, this is the best fight that could have happened, but it's the best fight that's not happening. Tony Ferguson.
I'm sorry I'm interrupting you, Numan. I want to ask you one thing about this. Like, as you were saying, they keep on postponing it. So even right now also I'm having this doubt about this event. Don't you think it's going to get postponed because of the coronavirus? I mean, are the governors of the different states are allowing?
I mean, I don't believe it will be postponed simply because Florida has been less strict basically.
Hello?
Florida hasn't been as conservative, when it comes to these events as all the other states in the US. So as I mentioned, WWE is still taking place every single week in Florida. Yeah.
Are you serious?
They're having Raw, SmackDown, NXT, all three events.
So isn't it risky for the players, for the athletes, for the fighters? I mean, like, they are participating. Obviously, they are fighting each other. They are throwing punches. They are throwing kicks. So the infection can spread easily from one person to another. So these guys, what are they thinking when they're organizing these events?
I mean, people are split. People don't know what to make of this situation. Let me talk about WWE's point of view. Okay, so WWE recently they fired a few.
Sure.
They fired a bunch of their superstars because of pay cuts and all, right? So they're not making as much money as they would, because now they're doing matches. Now they're doing their events at their performance center instead of having a traveling schedule where fans are attending, where tickets are being sold, merchandising and all that stuff. So because of that, they're losing a lot of money. So
Exactly.
they have to keep the ball rolling, right? I mean, if they shut down the sport completely,
Yeah.
that's not just loss for the company, that's loss for all the athletes, that's loss for all the staff that's involved. So yeah,
Plus
I
the
mean, it's
sponsors.
not a good situation for them. Same thing goes for UFC here. UFC, if you recall, UFC was purchased a few years ago by IMI, or it was IME Group. So I think they have to have at least, I believe, if I'm not wrong, 40, 45 or 48 events every year. So UFC was also supposed to have an event last month. They were scheduled to have one, and they didn't go through with it because ESPN, which by the way is owned by Disney, ESPN said that we will not broadcast this event. So then UFC is like, well, we have a deal with ESPN. If they're not broadcasting the event, what do we do? So we have to cancel the event, right? So it was basically a power move from Disney to cancel the previous UFC event. Dana White also mentioned that UFC has purchased, or they're going to purchase, some islands where they're going to have fights in the future.
Yeah, that's what I also read. That's what I've also read in a headline in a newspaper, that Dana White is suggesting that his next fights are going to be on the island. So what's the strategy on that?
I mean, I believe there are only going to be a few people. They don't really need the empires of the match. The referee has to be there.
Obviously, yeah.
They don't really need the empires, people officiating the fight, so they can do that remotely from any part of the world. So you could have very limited people on these islands fighting for the belt, basically having events on these islands.
I want to ask you one more thing also, that Numan, if you're doing these events on an island or anywhere, don't you think that the number of people are going to come very less over there? Less tickets will be sold, and isn't it a loss still?
They've been approved to have a fight in Florida, right?
Yeah.
But how many fights can they have in Florida? I mean, I think having an island is a good long-term sustainable solution for them. Well, simply because they own the island, they can organize it in any way they want. And in terms of people, I think you're wrong here, because there are some UFC events that, of course, have a large attendance, but most probably these fights would be organized in such a fashion that only a handful of people attend. There's another thing, that they could have the seasons of the Ultimate Fighter on those islands, so that brings a whole new dynamic to it.
Yeah, you can say that as well. Plus the female division also is there, so they have a lot of opportunities in their hands to organize that. One more thing I want to ask.
Let's talk about the event we have on hand.
Just one last thing I want to ask you. What's the reactions of the fighters? I mean, in terms of this thing of organizing the event, did they give any response to Dana White's statement of holding the event in the future, even during the crisis?
I mean, see, it depends on the fighters, right? So Khabib said that all the flights to and from Russia were banned, were closed because of the coronavirus, so he couldn't travel. He said, man, I cannot travel. And now it's Ramadan. Khabib doesn't fight during Ramadan, so he takes a long layoff during Ramadan. So the next time he would be fighting would be in September, but even that's up in the air, because you don't know what the virus situation is going to be in September.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you have a few fighters who said that they won't be comfortable, but then you have a lot more fighters who are like, man, this is my this is the way I earn money, right? This is my paycheck, this is my life. So if I'm not fighting, I'm not putting bread on the table. So for some people, I mean, they have to fight. Just like for some wrestlers, they have to go and put on a show on Raw, on SmackDown, on NXT, or on AEW. Yeah. Because they don't have a choice. That's their life, that's their bread and butter.
Exactly, you gotta put food on the table as well. Okay, so moving along, as Numan, you were saying about the main event. So can you tell us about the fighters who are going to be in the UFC next one event?
Okay, man, I mean, I really love this card. I mean, I cannot believe that they put this card on the table.
Go ahead, tell me about it.
Even in the early prelims, I like the Vincente and Nico Price fight. That's going to be a good fight, okay? Expect some fireworks in there. Then in the prelims, that's going to be on ESPN. In the prelims, you have Uriah Hall versus Ronaldo Jacare Souza. I would pick Jacare, yeah. I mean, I think Jacare is going to win the fight, but you can expect anything from Uriah Hall. His striking is very smooth.
Got it.
Then in the women's strawweight division, we have Carla Esparza versus Michelle Waterson. That's another good fight. That's another fight I'm looking forward to. I think Michelle is very underrated in the strawweight division. I mean, I feel she's like number 2 or number 3 strawweight in the world right now, but I don't know why UFC doesn't see it that way.
Maybe,
Then
maybe
we have,
sometimes, they say that your personality also matters.
Star power, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, star power also matters.
Yeah, the star power, yeah. I mean, she's, one of those goody two-shoes type of fighters, so yeah, I don't think she's going to turn many heads that way. Then in the heavyweight division, we have Alexei Oleinik, very good striker, very proficient striker, versus Fabricio Verdum. Fabricio Verdum, who obviously is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu legend and an MMA legend overall. Fabricio Verdum used to be the UFC heavyweight champion for quite some time. He was the guy who ended Fedor's streak. Rounding up the prelims, we have probably the second best fight on the card, Donald Cerrone versus Anthony Showtime Pettis.
Oh, Anthony Pettis.
It's going to be an amazing fight. I mean, if you had to bet your money on one fight that's going to be fight of the night, of course that would be Tony versus Justin, but Donald versus Anthony would be a close second.
What do you think?
Some might even say that this could be the best fight.
What do you think about Anthony Pettis and the Donald Cerrone fight? Who do you think is gonna come out as a winner?
I don't know, man. I mean, see, I love both fighters. I am a fan of Cerrone, I am a fan of Pettis. I've been following Pettis since the WEC days. Cerrone, I've been following him since the WEC days as well. Both of them did fight Tony Ferguson, both of them lost to him. I mean, if I had to pick a winner, I would probably pick, because it's welterweight, so I would probably go with Anthony Pettis. I think he's more comfortable at that weight than Cerrone.
I saw his fight against Tony Ferguson, Pettis' fight, and even though he lost that match, but he looked really good. He's versatile. He was moving here and there. He was throwing at least 20 punches. He brought down Tony Ferguson. He tried his best. He did good. So I saw his match. He is a versatile player. He's really good. It's going to be, as you were saying, it's going to be a close call. I mean, it's going to be a tough match. It's going to be an entertaining one as well.
There's a reason why they call him Showtime, man. I mean, he is one of the most flashiest fighters of all time.
Yeah, so expect that as well. I agree with you on that. So what about the main card?
Okay, now we come to the main card. So the first fight is Greg Hardy, who used to be an NFL player. He's fighting some...
What the? Are you serious?
Yorgan De Castro guy.
NFL player?
Yeah, I mean, many players who had a career in NFL have transitioned to UFC. One of those prime examples was Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker started MMA when he was in his late 40s.
What the hell? That's too late, man.
Okay. When he was... And he fucked people up, man. He had a background in Taekwondo. And he took MMA training very seriously, and he was in Strikeforce, so he was competing against the best of the best. He wasn't really competing against jobbers.
I mean, the reason I'm surprised because at the age of 40 already your stamina is going down. So keeping up with the elite in that division or in that category, I gotta salute this guy.
Yeah, I mean, Herschel Walker was in his late 40s, not even in his early 40s. So he was approaching his 50s by the time he transitioned to MMA.
Yeesh, man.
And I believe he had 2 fights and he won both fights by KO.
Oh, jeez, man. Damn.
And Herschel Walker wasn't just an average athlete. He's actually one of the best American football players of all time. And not just that, he was also on the Olympic bobsledding team.
For me, okay, the Olympic athlete whom I know is, correct me if I'm wrong, his name is Henry Cejudo, I guess.
Henry Cejudo, yeah, he's also on the card. We'll get back to him later. So yeah, it's Greg Hardy versus Yorgan De Castro. Listen, Greg Hardy, whatever you may say about his past, about his sexual assault situation and all, but he's taking MMA fighting seriously. He's taken MMA seriously, and he's been putting on good shows in my opinion. So I mean, I think Greg Hardy would take this fight. Okay, the next on the card we have another good fight in my opinion. That's Jeremy Lil Heathen Stevens versus Calvin Kattar. So this is another amazing fight. I mean, I don't know who's gonna win, okay, but I mean, this is another fight you should look out for. Then we have the fireworks, the most explosive fight on the card, Francis Ngannou versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
Oh my goodness, man, that African beast guy, he's gonna destroy the other one. Because Francis Ngannou, I have been watching his fights the last 1 or 2.
I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, you could say Francis could destroy Rozenstruik, but Rozenstruik, let me tell you, man, this guy is a former super heavyweight champion.
Oh.
Very, very badass kickboxer. Rozenstruik is undefeated. The last fight he had with Alistair Overeem, he fucking slit over Reem's face.
Damn.
I mean, if you see his lips, you'd be like, oh my god, what happened to him?
The guy's brutal, huh?
In my opinion, this is the Mortal Kombat fight. Okay, so this is going to be a very brutal fight. I mean, I don't know who to pick, but if I had to pick someone, I'd probably pick Ngannou because, I mean, I'm biased towards Ngannou. No other reason. I mean, anyone could win this fight.
You know, for me, okay, the last video, I think I even shared it with you and...
JDS, who by the way, is one of the best UFC heavyweights of all time. JDS Junior Dos Santos, easily one of the top 5 heavyweights of all time in the UFC. And Ngannou fucked him up real bad.
Yeah. Plus, I was even watching a training video of his, and he was talking about his stamina and the fight which he lost. I forgot the guy's name against whom he lost. Yeah, he was complaining about this, that his stamina is an issue.
Yeah, that was against Derek Lewis, I believe.
Oh, okay. Now his focus was like, I have to improve my stamina. I gotta, because his upbringing, or the way he joined in, he was just using his force, brutal force. So now when he entered UFC and he's looking at other fighters, like as you were mentioning, that like people are heavyweights guys, they are doing kickboxing as well, plus submission takedowns and all that stuff. You gotta learn that thing if you want to survive in that. Francis Ngannou, in my opinion, can be a surprise package because he was working hard. He might come up as a new something, with a fresh take or something.
I mean, I agree, but I won't say he's a surprise package, man. The whole world knows.
I don't know, I'm saying it.
Francis Ngannou is a
I'm
beast,
saying in terms of like fighting style or something, you might learn or something.
I don't think his fighting style is going to change a lot. See, he's 33 years old. He joined MMA quite late in his life. Had he been training since a young age, since his teenage years, I am pretty sure he would easily be the best heavyweight of all time. But that's not the case. He started training at a very late age. But despite that, he still is a very good fighter. Next on the card, okay, so the co-main event of the evening. Like you mentioned, Olympic champion, Triple C, Henry Cejudo versus Dominick Cruz. Thing I like about this fight is both are incredibly technical fighters. Okay, Henry Cejudo, despite being an Olympic gold medalist, okay, his striking is off the charts. I mean, if you see his stance, if you see his last few fights, okay, he doesn't fight like he's a wrestler. He fights like he's a kickboxing guy, and he fights like he's a kickboxing guy who's been training kickboxing since he was 5. Yeah, the way he's picked up the striking game is commendable.
Yeah, he has come a long way, and for me, okay, I'll be honest with you personally. I was the lucky one. I wish you were there instead of my place, because you have been following UFC for a very, very long time. And last year when we made a video on UFC, so as I told you, I was like working in the venue and I got to see the talk show before that. What do you call it? Before the match, right? Something. So I got to see this guy. For me, like, even though I haven't seen his fights at all, but it was like, his aura and listening to the way he was talking about his moves and his experience and everything, it was enlightening. And then afterwards, I saw his debut match. The guy is phenomenal. Yeah, as you were saying, he's a wrestler, but you don't expect him to be like, moving like that or performing like that. Guy is completely different.
I mean, he hardly uses his wrestling acumen in the fights. I mean, he's like, okay, I know I'm a wrestler, but I would fuck you up even if you want to stand up with me. So, I mean, I like that attitude, to be very honest. But he's fighting Dominick Cruz, man, who in my opinion is one of the best fighters of all time. Easily one of the best fighters of all time. I mean, had Dominick Cruz not spent so much time on the sidelines due to injuries, you never know. I mean, because from 2011 to 2014, he took about close to 3 years off because of injuries. Then he took 1.5 years off because of injury again. And then in December 2016, he got injured yet again after the fight with Cody Garbrandt, which he lost. And now he's coming back almost after 3.5 years.
That's a long break.
In terms of, that's a long break, exactly. He takes very long breaks. He gets injured a lot, but when he fights, he doesn't look like he's lost a step.
So, what about this thing about the breaks? Don't you think that there's an issue with the Dana White guy, because you're not fighting?
I mean, he's not taking breaks because he wants to. He's injured.
Okay, so he has a medical reason. That's why he's like, he can lay off.
Medical reason, yeah. I mean, he wouldn't want to take off 6. Not even 6. I think that's about 7-8 years. Yeah, about 8 years of his prime.
Exactly. Yeah.
Those 8 years of his prime, when he's at the peak of his physical and mental powers, he wouldn't want to take off those years. but he had to because of injuries. And if you look at Dominick Cruz's record, he only has lost 2 fights. The first fight he lost was in 2007, and the next fight he lost was after more than 9 years, which was against Cody Garbrandt in 2016.
Wow, okay, this guy, so he's consistent then.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a good fight. See, I mean, I would bet on Henry Cejudo because I don't really know what condition Dominick Cruz is going to be in, since he's had such a long layoff and he's 35 years old now. But don't count out Dominick Cruz is what I'm saying.
Yeah, of course, definitely. These guys, as you are telling me about his past record, it's definitely going to be a crazy fight. I'm telling you, man. There's be a lot of punches thrown around here and there in the octagon, man.
Yeah, and then we have the main event of the evening, which is a lightweight bout for the interim UFC Lightweight Championship. Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje. Tony Ferguson, by the way, never lost his interim championship. He was doing one of those press events for UFC when he fell really hard and he tore his lateral collateral ligament.
Damn.
The part that confuses me a lot is he did his own rehab.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he did his own rehab and within 6 to 8 months he was back fighting. That's when he fought Anthony Pettis.
Yeah, actually, in the beginning, the first round.
6 to 8 months after tearing his LCL. I mean, how is that even possible?
Okay, as a medical perspective, you need at least 6 to 9 months, something at least, and including the physiotherapy as well. Was he taking any drugs or something?
I mean, I don't think he's never tested hot for any steroids or any EPOs.
Whoa, man.
It doesn't even look like a guy who takes any drugs, to be honest. I mean, he looks high anyways. So he's high on life, I guess.
Yeah, the guy's energetic. And yeah, as I was saying before that, I watched this fight against this Anthony Pettis, and in the first round, Joe Rogan was saying that this guy got injured and he's standing up again, as you also mentioning. It's a feat in itself.
Yeah, medically it's not possible, right? How is it possible that you're injured, then within less than 9 months, you're not only back, but you're fighting in the UFC?
The way he performed in that match, it was phenomenal.
6 months actually, not even 8 months. In 6 months he was back, and in 6 months he took out Anthony Pettis, man. How is that?
Is he a machine or what?
Just to give you some background, back in October 2017, Tony Ferguson won the interim UFC Lightweight Championship. He was supposed to fight Khabib, which obviously didn't happen because he got injured. This normally doesn't happen, but he got injured doing a UFC event, and then UFC stripped him of the interim championship. And then Khabib was fighting for the undisputed lightweight championship, which in my opinion didn't really make sense. The next fight was Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway. It was originally scheduled to be Dustin Poirier versus Tony Ferguson for the interim championship. But then Tony's like, why should I fight for the interim championship? I want to fight for the real belt. I mean, I never lost the interim championship. What do you want to make me the 2-time interim champion? I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
What was their response?
So,
then as what response?
Yeah, so they put Max Holloway instead of Max Holloway, who at that time was the featherweight champion. So they put Max Holloway instead of him.
Got him.
Dustin Poirier won the fight, and then he went on to face Khabib for the undisputed championship in Abu Dhabi, the same event which you attended.
Yes. It was my first experience actually to watch a UFC event, and it was phenomenal. Seriously, once again, Numani, as you were saying, go on.
Yeah, so then Khabib, who was the undisputed champion, he's supposed to fight Tony, but then Khabib is not able to travel, so that fight again gets pulled off. Now we have Tony versus Gaethje fighting for the interim championship.
Whoa, once again, when is going to be held? On which day? On which date?
Yeah, it's going to be held on the 9th of May. Then there's another UFC event shortly, which is going to be on 13th of May. We'll discuss that in the next episode of the podcast, but this fight is going to be on the 9th of May. I mean, I'm not saying Justin Gaethje is a very good fighter in my opinion. Justin Gaethje has won his last 3 fights. Okay, and they weren't easy fights. He fought against James Wick, KO'd him. He fought against Edson Barbosa, KO'd him. He fought against Donald Cerrone, TKO win. So I mean, he's been doing a phenomenal job in my opinion. Do I think he has what it takes to beat Tony Ferguson? Could be, I don't know. But gun on my head, if I had to choose one of them, it would be Tony, obviously. But I got a feel for Tony, man. He's 36 years old. I mean, how many years does he have left in him?
Yeah, you can say so.
For the past 3 years, I mean, he should have been champion, and undisputed champion. But because of circumstances, unfortunately, he wasn't able to fight.
Yeah. By the way, I want to ask one more thing. Like, okay, from this, what happens next to Khabib or some? I mean, the other guys as well. Like, is Israel Adesanya and Conor McGregor? Do you have any news about them as well?
See, we don't know, man. We don't know what Dana has planned. We're living in a world where everything is happening instantly and everything is breaking down instantly, right? So again, UFC was supposed to have an event last month, and then at the last moment they had to cancel it. And now they have an event planned. We don't know if this event is going to go through. I mean, it's hopeful that it will, because again, Florida is also hosting WWE. Florida is also hosting AEW. So I think they're also hosting Impact Wrestling, which is a small-time wrestling wrestling promotion right now. So if it were to happen in any place, that would be Florida.
Yeah, if you are saying this way, then it's possible.
Does Conor McGregor need to fight during this pandemic? I don't think so. Does he want to fight? I'm not sure. I mean, he's probably going to see the money on the table, and he'll be like, I don't think that's enough, right? Because you don't have any live attendance, you're not making any money out of that. Okay, less sponsors, you're not making much money out of that. So some fighters might just pull off. Some fighters who are well off, they might just pull out. They might just not want to fight because of this.
Yeah, exactly.
And some fighters who really need the money. I mean, I'm pretty sure many fighters need the money. They need the thrill of fighting. They need to be active, right? So they want to
fight. Yeah, exactly. Okay, guys, that's it for now. Thank you, Numan, for detailed information about the event. And that's it for now, folks. And you have a good day. Take care of yourself. Any last words, Numan, you would like to say?
Yeah, I mean, tell us about your fight picks. Tell us who you think is going to win there. We have 2 championship bouts on this card. Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, and Henry Cejudo, Dominick Cruz. Leave your top picks in the comments down below. As always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. I mean, we're very fair about that. If you like this video, share it. And if you like the channel, if you like the content, please subscribe. And until next time, we're probably going to have another one of these MMA shows after the event, most probably. What do you say, Nabil?
Yeah, I would suggest we do a post-match discussion on this UFC event.
Okay, perfect. Let's have a post-fight commentary on it. And thanks for tuning in again, folks. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care.
Goodbye, folks.
Bye.
Goodbye.